And we are live. Welcome everyone to Got Dreams, the show where we help you get unstuck, share your gifts so you can get paid online. My name is Michael Mataluni, and with me today is Ted McGrath. If you don't know, Ted is the creator of 5 household brands and teaches coaches, speakers, and service-based business owners how to turn their life story and message into a business that impacts the lives of millions. Ted, how are you today?
I'm good. I'm Ted Mango McGrath today. I'm eating.
Ted Mango McGrath. Ladies and gentlemen, the man's got to eat. Ted, let's dig it. I'm excited. One of the things that people are always asking about, and this is something you're passionate about. Obviously, the world is changing. Nothing is slowing down. It's only getting faster. What do you think makes these changes a massive opportunity to people who want to start either a service-based business or they want to sell their expertise online?
Yeah, so I think number one, like if you watch, you have a fundamental shift on what's going on in the world right now, right? So obviously you feel it and you're the effect of it right now. But if you step back and observe, there's a total shift going on in the world right now. That's more evident than ever because of the internet and social media, and then of course what's been going on with the results of COVID in the last year. And so people are feeling the effects of this stuff. We're certainly feeling it in our business. Things have changed. And the environment always does change, right? So if you're not outpacing the environment, you're going to be the effect of what's going on. So really today is about how do you not become the effect of what's happening, and how do you figure out where the ball's going or the puck is going. Wayne Gretzky always skated to where the puck's going, not where it's at.
Right.
And so if you take a look at industry today, there's a loss of consumer confidence in industries as a whole, right? The financial industry, people have lost confidence in it and have been losing confidence for years. People don't know what to do about it because there's not a solution, but you can only take so many reports about embezzlement and fraud and things that you see in the media. You're like, how does this keep happening, right?
Right.
There's a fundamental shift of just, what you see happening in the world of art, where art's becoming digital today with, NFTs that have sprung up. And so where people used to value assets, where people value like, hey, I want to have art on my wall. Now it's cool to have like art on your phone, and the younger generation, their phone is kind of their identity, right? So they walk around and hey, I got art on my phone, right? It's a different world today. And when you think about it, very few people are coming into your house to see your art. So if you have $1 million piece of art on the wall, how many people come see it in a year? Right. But if you have $1 million piece of art on your phone and you're walking around and showing everybody socially, it's a different game. Right. And just not even walking around, if you're just showing people virtually online, what if art becomes your avatar, and now you have an avatar that's representing who you are and expressing who you are, which is what we're doing with Got Dreams for artists. It's one of the many things we're doing. So there's a change in the world of art. There's a change in finance. There's definitely a change in entertainment. People aren't going to movie theaters anymore. Streaming's been around for a long time, but people aren't going to movie theaters. So it forces more people to start thinking with online, more people to start being online, and wherever the audience is where the market's going to develop, right? So there's all these changes, and with that, I say that to bring home one very firm point, which is, well, if the world of finance is changing and people don't trust it, are they going to take advice from people in that industry? If the world of art is changing, if you're brand new and you want to get into it, what are you going to look for, and who are you going to go out and learn from? And even if you want to get into the industry, where are you going to go learn how to get into the industry today? If you want to be a business person today, are you going to go learn from people, institutions that have been around for 20 years? Or are you going to learn from people on the internet who are actually doing it?
Right.
So in a certain essence, like when the internet came out, the word was that the playing field has been leveled in the world. We're now global. But now that we have all these developments in these different industries that are changing, because industries are collapsing. It's not just the internet. You have industries collapsing. So when you have industries collapsing and old structures collapsing that people are no longer depending on, now you have the internet married with, there's got to be new structures in that place. And who do you want to learn from today? You want to learn from peers that you trust. And so that brings up an opportunity for anybody in any industry today, to be somebody who teaches and passes on their expertise and their knowledge of how they've done it. And so now when you're learning from a set of potentially 100 people, thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions of people in an industry versus, one institution or one structure that's been around for so many years, just because it's been around doesn't make it necessarily the best. You have a different level of innovation and opportunity.
Right.
Do you want to learn from 100 or 1,000 or a million people, or one system that pushes, hey, 10% is good in the financial industry to earn a rate of return on, or hey, it's great to have a Van Gogh on your wall for $1 million and that's art. It's being redefined, right? What is a rate of return that's good in money? What is art today? Who are artists today? There's more and more artists springing up because not everybody has to go to Hollywood to do it, because the opportunities are all over. Atlanta's now the hub, right? And so those structures have changed. And so you're just seeing a change, and businesses have changed now, where it used to be brick and mortar, more and more moving online, which makes that whole industry more competitive, which means that whole industry of digital marketing online needs to change and evolve because it is getting more competitive, which means it has to evolve. So now there's new things that are springing up in there to learn. So that the answer to the question is, you need to be the one teaching, and passing on your knowledge and expertise, and you need to stay up with trends and be able to teach that to other people. And that's the opportunity today.
Right. And you mentioned two important things. Number one, so many things are changing where you're seeing old industries collapse in on themselves, where this is open opportunity. When these old industries start to collapse, there's always going to be new opportunities for folks. And then two, you have expertise. I think what a lot of people don't recognize is the expertise they already have. They don't realize, because they have blinders on, because you're with yourself every single day, that you do have skills, you do have things that can be translated into this online business space. And if you're looking to where the puck is going, you can see where those opportunities are going to be popping up. Any specific industries that you think people should be focused on, or should they really just be going inside and taking an inventory of their skill sets, their passions, their expertise? Like, what do you suggest?
Yeah, I mean, I think you should take a look at, what are your interests and your passions? What are new interests that you can take up, and learn now. So 5-7 years ago, you can be helping people. 5-7 years from now, you can be helping people on that, or a year from now. It doesn't take long to learn skill set today and be successful with the speed of how things are moving, right? So it requires study and research and execution. So I think you just need to look at, today more than ever, it's like your life lessons and your knowledge is important. Your story is important, because people do want to learn from people that they trust.
Right.
They don't want to be, subject to institutions. And that's the way that it's been for a long time. Top down, right? Top down marketing, top down money, top down entertainment. And people are tired of it. And they've been tired of it for a long time. There's just been no solution. But now you do have an opportunity. There is a solution. There's a solution to get paid from home, for your knowledge and expertise. There's a solution to, get off the current money system and get into opportunities that are digital money, like Bitcoin or Ethereum and other coins like that. Although we're not giving any financial advice on this show, I'm just telling you things that I'm doing and the opportunities that exist from an education standpoint. There's an opportunity to learn new things and do new things and move faster. And that's where you need to kind of be clued in. Where's marketing going? Because that's audience. Where's money going? Because that's fuel to grow a brand. And then where's your new skill set going that can be useful for you and other people in the 21st century?
That's powerful. And I think a lot of folks don't realize, I mean, you talk about artists and you talk about the ability to do things that weren't possible so many years ago. To be able to develop a home studio or something like that costs a tenth of what it cost then. So leveraging technology, I think, is also an important aspect of this.
Absolutely. Technology is a huge aspect of it. The metaverse is the new thing that's going to be
coming, man. Metaverse
huge.
is coming, baby.
It's explosive, man, you know? But who doesn't want to sit here and have a conversation with, I mean, I'd rather be talking to you, Michael, with sunglasses on and have you, in my living room through virtual reality. It'd be more exciting than sitting here talking to a computer screen, because ultimately we do miss interacting in person.
Right.
It's a better form of doing it, but the faster way to do it is this. And then with restrictions today that are only getting more and more restricted, you want to have people in your living room, and you want to have that experience as if your everyday life is entertainment, and that's why it's going to be big. If you're entertained doing your regular monotonous things, that entertainment for a while is going to be exciting until the new technology comes out. But it's entertainment, and so that's why it's one of the reasons why it's going to be exciting, because it is entertainment. It's a novelty. It's something new.
Right.
So there's all these changes coming in. I'm certainly not an expert in all of them, but I watch them and I study them and I look at the trends. Raoul Powell said something interesting. Who's a macro investor the other day, and certainly he didn't create the concept, but he's sharing his insight into it. But people are not investing in the younger generation's not investing in assets today. They're not investing in real estate. They're not investing in financial portfolios. They're investing in cultures. And it's a very different perspective. What
does that mean? What does that mean, investing in cultures?
Well, for example, with Got Dreams, the new platform we're starting up for artists, right? It's not just a community where you can come and learn from other artists. It's a peer-to-peer community where you can come create projects with other artists and truly connect with other artists, right? And develop projects. So if somebody comes on and goes, hey, I want to develop a film, they can connect with other people and do it. Somebody goes, hey, I want to form a band. They can get on and they can, just as a hobby, I want to create a band. Great. You do this, boom, we're together. And maybe we're creating virtual music in our studio. So you're creating community that way with what we're doing on Got Dreams, which is teaching them the skill sets of what they need to know about, being an artist, whether it's a hobbyist or a professional. We're teaching the skill sets of what they need to know in terms of marketing and branding so they can get an audience. And we're teaching them the skill sets of money with digital money. And we're doing it in a peer-to-peer way, but we're doing it where we're going to have our own token. So Dream Token will be our currency. So when the investors come in to invest in our company, they're not getting a stock certificate or an equity certificate. They're getting a token that shows what they own of the company.
Right.
So this is the big thing that's springing up with kind of social tokens. And so you want people in your community that are participating in your community. As we're starting up an investment fund that we're starting up in the company, we want people to not only learn with us, but earn with us.
Right.
So what if you could be participating in the growth of, the fund? What if you could be investing in the artist per se, and things that we're releasing on the platform and have equity share, not equity share, but a social share in that, right? With tokens. Essentially now you're participating in the success and the growth of the community. And in doing that, you're part of a culture, you're part of a way of living, and everybody's winning and profiting together. It's very different, right? So that's what I mean by investing in cultures. Whatever cultures are most interesting, people are going to want to be part of them. And now you're seeing, like, how do you monetize that?
Right.
How do you be part of that and monetize it? How do you be part of that community, not just be a customer of that community, but be, I won't call it a partner, but sort of a partner, right? Where you as the company grows, you grow, not only just skill wise, but financially. Like, wouldn't that be a concept, right? So NFTs, what is that today? It's become a culture, right?
Right.
Like, it's cool. The younger generation, like, they walk around and show that I have this video on my phone of this athlete, or it's cool to say that I have this piece of art, and I have an NFT. It's a culture today. It's not just like I own art. And it's not just for, the stuck up group of people. I'm not saying they're all stuck up, but that's how art's viewed, right? It's like you have a stuck up group of people that are very wealthy and they all go and they spend a ridiculous amount of money on art, is how a lot of the world views that demographic, right? So what if the playing field was leveled where everybody could own art, and then, you could have the advantage of, you get bored of it, you trade it out with somebody.
Right.
That's a different world, man. It's a different, It's a different way of looking at everything. And it's kind of like, it reminds me of the model. I don't think they're still in business right now, but Yellowtail wine came out because you had people, they did a survey to find out, like, how come more people don't go and buy wine? And the reason they figured out is because it's too confusing. Like, it's typically people would go get wine if they have like an air about them and like this wine and that wine. I don't know. To me, it's just funny, right? Like, know a good wine or whatever, but it's just people get an air about it because it's like this wine thing, and it is an art, right? But you had a whole small segment of the population who even understood what it is, and who could even participate in buying those wines. But what about all the other people who didn't buy wine? They felt dumb. That's why they didn't go into a wine store. That's what the survey showed, right? So, like, I don't want to feel dumb to go walk in to go buy a piece of art with people are dropping $1 million on art when I just want a piece of cool shit on my wall.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like, so, and I don't want to feel dumb with going into a wine store when I just want to taste red wine. So Yellowtail wine, was it Yellowtail? Yeah, Yellowtail. They came out with wine years ago, and they said, we're just going to have a red and a white. And they went after non-wine drinkers.
Right.
Right. So they went after a percentage of the population that doesn't drink wine. Well, think about what's springing up today in the communities of, like, now you're going after people who everybody can buy art, and everybody can be an artist and create their own NFTs if they want. Like, what interesting, everybody could be an artist.
Yeah. And this idea of culture, right? Investing in culture, and the landscape changes so quickly. I just wanted to bring up two things. Well, number one, the purpose of this show for everybody watching is to help you identify where the markets are going so you can move in that direction and not be left behind. But number two, it's helping you get unstuck today, like figuring out what's holding you back and getting into action, because the faster you get into action, the more you're going to learn. Trial and error is important. Ted's going to share with you how to avoid as much trial and error as possible, but getting into action is so critical. So we've got quite a few people listening right now, but not a lot of questions. So if you have questions specifically, if you want to get unstuck, if you're frustrated with something, go ahead and ask that question. We're going to get Ted's take on it. But while we're waiting on you guys to ask those questions, Ted, I'm curious, like, what kind of advice would you give to people who are seeing all these changes take place and who are trying to follow the trends and listen to you and be prepared to meet the puck where it's going to be in 1 year, 5 years, 10 years? But, like, how do they get started today and not hold back or wait for that to happen?
I think now I share all these things with you because it's time to just rethink your brand and rethink your career, and that's really the purpose of what we're doing today. Like, rethink your brand. I even had a branding meeting this morning of, like, Message to Millions is not my brand. It's one of my brands. So what do I stand for? Right. I was talking to the brander today, like, we are what we dream is like the umbrella of everything that I do. The community, we are what we dream. So everything else is underneath that. I got, Message to Millions. I've got Dreams, our new platform. I've got Good Enough, my play and my film. I've got these things that are, unique to me, but I'm rethinking the brand of how do I want it to be represented for the new website that we're putting up, and then how it goes across. Because the things we market now and what people see is not a representation of the full brand. It was cool 5 years ago. It's not now. So I just think it's an opportunity to rethink and reinvent. And then you start to look at this opportunity of getting paid for your knowledge. There's so many people today that are rethinking their brand of, you don't just sell the product that you sell, and you're not just in the industry that you're in today, right? You have to be thinking of how do you create new cultures? Even if it's in your micro community of what you're doing, how do you create new cultures? Because people are investing in new cultures today. That's what's hot. And it's not they're investing in brick and mortar anymore. It's not investing in, real estate or financial assets like stocks and mutual funds, things that you can taste and hold today because you know them so well. It's not keeping your money in cash that you can walk around with. The world has become immaterial. So any product you're selling today, if you could be selling a hair gel, how do you think about reinventing that and going, maybe I should teach people about the style of their hair versus just selling them the product?
Right.
Right. If you're, and then you have to me what's called multiple hats, right, that you wear in an industry today. You can't you can't thrive as a business person, as a brand today without having the ability to put on different hats. Meaning you're not just if you're a speaker today, you're not just a speaker. You have to be a marketer too. If you're a business owner, you're not just a business owner who does marketing and sales and maybe grows teams. You're a money person too, you know? So you got to be thinking of the different hats you need to wear to actually get ahead in the marketplace, because you have to do 3 jobs today comparatively to what one would do.
Right.
And what I mean by that is the one job, you look at Ryan Reynolds, he's got a marketing company, right? He doesn't just do movies. He has a marketing company that's probably making more than his movies, right? I think it's $600 million or something. It was the company they partnered with. So I don't know what his is worth, but you have, Mark Wahlberg is an entrepreneur, right? So you even see it in the entertainment industry where people are starting to wear the entrepreneurial hat. Those are the ones that are winning, right? You look at our industry of whatever our industry is, because we're redefining it now. It's not a coaching industry or consulting industry. That's not what any of this is to me. It's an industry of entrepreneurs. It's an industry of visionaries. It's an industry of artists. This is our industry. This is my industry. This is my new culture. And it's teaching them that you have to wear 3 different hats to accelerate today. And you have to take on that beingness that's appropriate at the time. If you don't, you'll be left with no money, even if you're great at what you do. If you're just great at money, you'll be left with no product, because you got to constantly innovate the product. So you've got a business. And if you're left with, you have the money and you have the product, but you have no marketing, you'll be left with a whole bunch of money in your hand that never gets used and deployed, because you'll never have an audience.
Right.
So these are the things to start thinking of as you go to recreate what you're doing today. How do you take your expertise that you've been successful at for years, and just by adding on a component of teaching and then passing that knowledge on to somebody else, you just innovated your business. You made yourself stand differently from anybody else out there, because now all of a sudden you're a person who does your job, but then you're a person who passes on your wisdom and your knowledge, which makes you 10 times more attractive in the marketplace.
Right.
Because you're actually helping other people, not indirectly through the product that you sell, but you're helping them directly with a transfer of knowledge, which is what people need to actually embrace the change that's taking place right now.
Right. And I think it's so important. I think a lot of folks will get a little bit overwhelmed when they think about having to be a marketer and be an entrepreneur, and be somebody who provides value for others all at the same time. But what I've found, and personally, and I've seen this reflected in you, Ted, as well, is that there's a lot of fun and interest and enjoyment that comes out of wearing these different hats, because you're not stuck in this one role where it becomes monotonous and you're over specialized and you're not enjoying the process. By wearing a lot of hats, you actually start to enjoy this more, and you leverage that into having a bigger vision. And I think that's where a lot more of the fulfillment comes from. I certainly see it in you and across the industry.
Yeah, and today it's not like networking was the old game, or having a
Right.
Rolodex in 40 years ago, right? Um, and that was the thing that you did, right? To actually get connections. But that has to become a culture today. And you see some of it that exists on like a Facebook or an Instagram, but you ask yourself, what is the culture? Like, what is the purpose of that? There's not a culture there, right? So what I see the future is like Got Dreams is going to be a culture of artists, right? And so what stops one artist from doing what another artist does? Skills, right? Audience, money, and people that they can connect with and create on. Now, obviously, you have the thing of talent that's there. So you can say you either have talent or you don't, but you can take somebody who has less talent but has money and audience and marketing, money and audience and skill sets, right? That they've learned. Less talent, they'll be more successful with the person who has talent and none of those. So the community, the culture needs to become a way of life. It's not just I need to network. It's not every 4 months I need to go to a mastermind.
Right.
Am I part of a community where I can literally, who has common values and common interests, who also is rallying around a coin, like Dream Coin is our coin. And so now you have people who are invested in the same currency, right? Doesn't mean you don't use the dollar anymore, but this is worth something. So now you have people earning together. You have people partnering on projects together. You have people learning from each other, right? You know, what makes a business successful? Vested interests, right? What makes a partnership successful? My interest is vested in you. If you're successful, I'm successful. If I'm successful, you're successful. It doesn't work if that doesn't exist,
Right.
right? So imagine, you know, now it's not about networking. It's not about going to events. It's not about, hey, I gotta lick this person's butt to introduce me to this other person, right? What if the community was so supportive that you could just freely connect with anybody, you know? And that would be an interesting culture. But and they exist today on certain platforms around this, but a culture that has all these components. It's not like I'm on Facebook and we all have these different interests. Yeah, you have Facebook groups or whatever, but you know, people are trying to sneak their way into a Facebook group so they can, you know, this was happening. Like, how do I get into a Facebook group to post my stuff and do it stealthily so I don't get banned from the group? That's not a culture, dude.
Right.
Garbage, you know? And I'm not saying that we have it in our groups yet. We haven't even gone that route with Facebook groups. We're just changing. We're developing a new platform that has that. And that's the development of what we're doing right now. So I think you need to think about that with what you're doing. Number one, what are the skill sets I need to be successful in today's economy? You need skills, you need marketing, you need money. So learn those three. Those are three fundamental things that any entrepreneur, any artist, any person on the planet needs to know. Two, what are the knowledge that you have that instead of going direct to an employer, you can go get paid for in the marketplace? Three, how do you build community and cultures to where people are coming together and playing together and winning together and earning together? And four, you know, how do you get into the new technology of Web 3.0, which is, you know, what Bitcoin and Ethereum are built on and all these other coins, the blockchain, with learning more about the metaverse, because I'm interested about it. I'm not an expert in it. I'm invested in it, but I want to learn more and more about it. These are the 4 or 5 trends that I would be looking at, 4 or 5 stable things I would look at as to reinvent my future. And it takes time, you know, but it all depends how quickly you move and how much you want to know about it. So, you know, we're here to talk about how do you get your knowledge and expertise out there online to get paid. I think you just need to start looking at things from a different perspective, and becoming more valuable as an individual, you know?
That's huge. That's huge. I mean, you know, you broke it down into those 4 different quadrants very precisely. I think a lot of folks, you know, they find it difficult just to get started today. I wonder what, you know, and I think here's the biggest challenge. And I think coming from a perspective of wanting to help individuals get to this place where they understand building culture and they understand sharing their expertise and they understand creating something that is valuable for other people now and building a story around that. What do you think is, like, if you were starting over today, like, what would be the thing, where would you start with all of this?
Well, I mean, I would start with really those 4 or 5 things. So in what order would I start? One, I would take a inventory of what do I know, you know?
Hmm.
Like what are the things, the lessons that I've learned over life? Like if you're in the financial industry, you know a lot about money, you just don't think you do, you
Right.
know? But I mean, if you were
Or you
raised in
think everybody knows, and
if
it's like,
you're if you're
no.
if you were raised in the current financial industry, you pretty much know jack crap because you know it's not built on principles of truth for the most part. But you know some principles of math and how it works, um, and so math actually has some truth to it, right? Although there's many different numeric systems, this isn't the only numeric system of the math we use here, but the math that we use and we've agreed upon, like that works. A lot of people can't even add and they can't even confront money. So you have a leg up of things that you can teach. You have principles of saving that work. Because I'm saying when I say crap, I mean the financial products for the most part are not good, right? But the principles of what it takes to create wealth are solid,
Right.
um, because you've learned that along the way. So the principles of saving money stand strong. The principles of discipline in doing that stand strong. The principles of basic math of how to like create a budget for things. The principles of like what's important to you about your life. If you're going to talk about money, you have to be talking about their whole life and their dreams and things that they want. So there's so many things that that are very basic principles that stand true as a financial person, and you can drop all the other stuff. because it's going away anyway over the next decade, right? When I talk about the other stuff, I think you're going to see an innovation of the stuff, but I'm not I'll never invest in bonds, right? I'll never invest in most stocks again. So I'm not a big proponent of real estate. Doesn't mean I won't have it in my portfolio. I just have a different perspective on where money's going in the future. So you can write down all the things that you know in money and teach the principles of it, not necessarily the vehicles of the products. Does that make sense?
It totally makes sense. And I think that's so important. Like you landed on a really great distinction here about principles. And so, whatever career you come from, whatever business background you come from, whatever hobby that you love or are interested in that you're good at, understanding what are the principles that make you successful in that versus the vehicles or the specific tactics. Because that's when you think about the world changing, like you think about marketing, right? Like, people are always like, oh my God, Facebook is so expensive and this is changing and that's changing. True. These things are always changing, but the psychological principles of why humans buy never change.
Right. Right. So there's some principles there that are sound, that are working, right? And then as new things develop, there's new ways of communicating to people as well. But you're right, the principles of messaging is still what actually moves the needle in marketing, right? And that's not going to change.
Not going to change.
How you communicate the message will change to a certain degree as cultures change and people change. But people changing is a slow burn, right? So that is true. And there's basic principles there that exist. So you could teach those. And it doesn't matter whether it's Facebook or YouTube or whatever, as you're saying. It could be on a totally different platform. So you take stock of that first and you go, what do I know? Principle wise, that's timeless, or is pretty timeless, right? So you look at that and then you go, okay, so now that I have that, what are my interests and my passions? How do I want to use these principles? And who are people that need what I have? So that's like where step 1 and 2 is very basic stuff, right? Very basic stuff of what's my knowledge.
So important. So
right.
important.
Yeah. And well, you've heard it for a long time about knowledge and expertise until you look at your own and you write it down and you get feedback from other people and you hear what they say about you. It's a good reminder for you to hear that from other people to validate what you already know. Because if you don't have other people to validate what you know, sometimes you invalidate what you know. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Right?
Or you validate the wrong things.
Right. So you could validate the wrong things as well. And so you can find out what people find useful and unique about you. That's an interesting project, right? To do that, I'd always be curious as to what people, would share about me who are close to me. And then that also helps you with your branding. That helps you with what you're going to teach. It helps with what you're going to do in the world. But all of that will mostly ring true. And you'll go, wow, I always do that naturally. Or, wow, I am really good at that. I just didn't think, I wasn't comparing it to somebody who wasn't good at it. So I didn't think I was that great, but I really am great at it.
Exactly. Yeah.
And then you start to get confidence to go, well, what would somebody pay me for that? And then you've got to figure out, okay, great. Let me test it in the marketplace to see how good I am. That's kind of the entrepreneurial journey of like, the marketplace. If you go out there, you're testing to see how good you are, and you only know that when you get into action.
Right.
And then you only know how good you are when you rise to the occasion of your current goodness before you take the action to your goodness that's after the fact, which is much higher than your current goodness, because once you get into action, your goodness rises to greatness, right?
Right.
So it's kind of the rub of the road. And then you got to have an explorer's mindset to go, there's things that I don't know, but going on the journey, my necessity level to learn those things is super high now because I'm on the journey, and I'm doing it, right? It's like, as we're starting our career, we're looking to hire our next researcher who's going to be researching stuff for us, because as I move into a different role, I can't be the researcher all the time. And other people that I collaborate with now can't be the researchers. So we're bringing in researchers. So as we move forward, we're like, wow, it's getting serious. We're going to have people investing in our vision. We need to have more researchers on the team so we can make the right moves. Now, we wouldn't be looking at making that decision had I not been moved forward into it, Right. So you got to move forward into it to actually take the actions on the things that you wouldn't normally take actions on if you're just thinking about it.
That's a great point.
So those are the steps. Write it down and think about it. What am I good at? 2, who do I want to share it with? And 3, how do I make myself more unique in the marketplace by my story? I just got off the phone with a guy who does one-man play like me, and he's a financial advisor. And it's like he came from a family that was all finance people, and he's always kind of had this performance side of him, similar to me. And it's just very interesting, but his story is unique, like financial advisor doing a one-man play. It's interesting, right? It's like it's the contrast. It's like there's a uniqueness to it, and that's about him, right? It's his story that you go, wow, this is a guy I would want to have a relationship with. So you do have to put your story in there so people can go, there's something different about this person. And that's the other thing that people leave out. And this is another timeless principle, Michael, you know that, but how many people run from telling their story? And people want to know them, celebrities in particular. You barely get the real story ever from these people. And you're dying to know about them, unless there's a documentary that's done about them, typically after they're dead, or they're on their way out. My buddy who says, hey, I'm doing this documentary on XYZ guy, is an old sportscaster who's like, guy's on his way out, right? He's older, meaning, right? And so in his later years, he's doing it. But wouldn't it be interesting to tell your story now, in the mid part of your life, and leverage that as a way to attract people into your audience, So that's another component. What is your story? So somebody had a question, Mike. What was it?
And real quick, as I put this question up, I just want to let folks know that this show is going to be live for the next month on 11:30 Eastern time on Thursdays. So I just want to give you guys a heads up that we're going to be consistently coming to you live on Thursdays at 11:30 moving forward. But I'd love for you all to take what Ted has shared today and actually do the homework. Go write down, take your skill inventory, go do those things, bring them back next week. Figure out what comes up for you, and then we're going to answer those questions as we begin to wrap up today. But Deirdre Proctor had a question. She says, what are ways that you become more valuable? Is that just marketing yourself more?
Yeah, I think you become more valuable. One, you got to actually look at what is valuable first with you. You could be marketing one thing that's not the most valuable thing about you, which is why we're doing a total rebrand right now, because there's 4 or 5 things you don't know about me that we don't constantly market, that we're rebranding to market those things, so you got to take an inventory of what are those things. And then once you know what those things are, then you can start with the marketing of it and the storytelling behind it, which is interesting, right? And then you can get more out there. Which is another reason why we're doing this show, right? We have a show here at Got Dreams, which is talking about the business aspect of it, but more the high level. We have another part on money. We have another part on art. So we're doing these different things that are more representative of what my brand is and my vision and my mission, so you guys can experience it, right? So you got to think of ways to get that out there and different ways to communicate it.
Right.
But first you got to know what is valuable before you market it.
Exactly. And you were mentioning earlier about culture. And as you begin to do these skill inventories and you begin to go look for other cultures and groups where you want to engage and start to build a client base, remember what Ted said earlier. You don't want to just run in, guerrilla marketing, drop your stuff and try not to get banned. You want to engage with folks. And if you're able to do that, then you start to see the results. Then you start to build that audience.
And we're all looking for a community, right? Like, wouldn't it be more interesting if all looking for a community in some area that like we're more interested in? Like, don't you want to find relationships of like in your industry right now? Hey, I'd love to be connected with more people. But the option today is like join a mastermind and pay XYZ if you're joining it for connections. And like, okay, well, that's interesting as one level, but what if it was a way of living? What if you could have that every day where you wake up and have the opportunities on your plate of people that want to partner with you or do projects with you or, are seeing your work and you're exposed to that. That's what we're creating, So, yeah. So other questions, Mike?
That's it. So we are going to wrap up, but I certainly encourage everybody who's watching right now to like, subscribe. You can click the links below to check out any of our products and services. And this is for you. This is completely free. We're going to be here every single week. Make sure you go home, take your skill inventory, and we'll see you back here next Thursday at 11:30 Eastern Standard Time.
And spread the word, spread the word and tell people, like, if you're on a page right now where you can like it, do it, subscribe if you're on some other pages.
Share it.
So we can, because we're constantly posting this on different platforms. We have pieces of this coming out on Instagram. We have this posted on YouTube. So, share it with other people and just bring people so we can build the community.
Love it. Ted, thank you so much again for your time, and we'll see you all next week.
Cheers.